Chapter 22. Staggering Beauty. They emerge from the bunker and into the sunlight. It's unnaturally red out. Whatever chaos might have taken place while they hid below, it appears that the Corpomolta has come out on top. Megan takes the first step into this new world. The fleshy ground squelches under her shoes, but it doesn't scream or crawl away. It seems to welcome her. Despite the snaking purple tendrils covering every surface, the vile red and brown pools that dot the land, and the warbling songs of newly born dryads in the distance, everything seems blissfully tranquil. No glaring city lights, no people chattering or cars honking. All that fills the air is that senseless, sickly sweet melody. If there are any other people up here on the mountainside, they've long since joined with the flesh. They step out of the tree line onto a ledge that overlooks the valley. Gazing out of the crimson horizon, that sense of peacefulness is quickly replaced by one of grief. This is the end of the world. Everything they've ever known is gone now, buried under thick, fatty layers of flesh. Every tree, every person, every blade of grass is now joined with the Corpomolta. The streets and houses below have evolved into the gushing veins and organs of a grotesque leviathan. It sings with a billion stolen mouths and watches with as many pairs of eyes. Great mounds of flesh roll across the valley. They twitch and gurgle as they move, spewing forth rivers of sludge that streak the land in their wake. The survivors share wordless glances before moving forward. There are mutant creatures wandering here and there. A squirrel king crosses their path, hemorrhaging twigs and teeth from a torn pouch on one of its backs as it skitters from one bush to the next. The black and bony branches of a nearby tree shake, and an orphan's spinal column drops down like a dangling python. It rears up and regards them with an eyeless face, but seems docile, so they ignore it. Suddenly, they hear a loud crash and a holler. To Ben's dismay, the officers leap into action. They run toward the source of the commotion on impulse. He wants no part of whatever is happening beyond the trees, but Megan runs after her brother, so he's forced to follow lest he be left alone among the skeleton trees. They come upon an almost comical sight. A small dryad whose branches have joined with the rump of a panicking buck. It kicks and thrashes, trying to free itself. Its hind legs have fused together, but it dauntlessly tries to claw away from the slurping flesh. The dryad seems equally as frustrated, and the offending branches whip back, lifting the deer off the ground and sending it crashing into a nearby trunk. The buck whimpers, and simultaneously, a mouth on the dryad lets out a man-like yelp. Larry takes out his gun and shoots the poor creature between the antlers. It goes limp, and the dryad screeches in pain. Before anyone can react, the surrounding conglomerations begin howling and flailing wildly. The tentacle rips itself from the ground and lodges its spikes into Davy's temple. The trailing end of it whips back and coils around his partner's neck. Isaac yells and leaps to try to wrestle them free. Megan dodges a second tentacle as it darts toward her, but falls backwards into another, which drives its thorns through her abdomen. Ben and her brother both scream at the sight. Larry aims his gun at nothing in particular and starts firing. The chief sees this and abandons her dead and dying officers. She grabs his wrist and knees him hard in the kidney. He drops his gun, and the gravity of the situation seems to hit him. His legs go limp, but Isaac hefts him upright. He looks dumbly from her to Ben to Megan, choking on her own blood, and sobs. Isaac drags him away from the fray and leans him up against the trunk of an eyesome but disinterested dryad, where he slumps to the ground like a rag doll. She returns to Ben, who is still staring at Megan. "We need to help her," he croaks. Jennifer looks at the increasingly pale young woman. She shakes her head and pulls gently on Ben's arm. He yanks it away. The dryad is still flailing its tendrils like some mad marionette, but seems to have redirected its attention on absorbing the officers. Just when Isaac is about to turn away, Davies coughs and sputters. "Chief," he says weakly. Another officer raises his gun. "At ease, Rogers," Isaac warns. "Are you serious?" "I said at ease." Rogers lowers his gun, and the dryad's tentacles retract a bit. "Bring her to us," Davy's dryad says. The chief opens her mouth to speak, but Ben wastes no time. He unceremoniously wrenches Meg's body from those vile meat hooks and drags her to the dryad's roots. The creature's many eyes inspect the girl, and the roots begin snaking around her bloody torso. Suddenly, Larry is behind them. "What the fuck are you doing to her?" he screams. "Barrett, get the hell away from my sister." His gun is still on the ground nearby. He dives for it, but Rogers catches him in a headlock. Larry squirms and kicks, even tries to bite his comrade's knuckles, but Rogers holds fast, looking to Isaacs for orders. She simply nods, returning her attention to the Dryad's grotesque surgery. Before long, color returns to Megan's face. She opens her eyes slowly, then blinks hard. She looks at the people standing expectantly around her, then down at the massive tentacles joining with her midsection. She looks like she's about to scream, but she doesn't. She looks up at the tentacled birch tree that cradles her, and she laughs. The end.